Thank you very much, program directors. The Gordhan family, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking the Gordhan family for giving me some time to say a few words on the occasion of us paying our last respects to this extraordinary South African, to this extraordinary man, to this extraordinary human being. Many of those who have spoken already have spoken from different perspectives about this man. I will speak largely about him in the context of the enormous support that he gave to the State Capture Commission that I had the honor to lead. I'll talk about his commitment in the fight against corruption and state capture, as revealed in the evidence that he gave in the commission. Mr. Pravin Gordhan was one of those whose voices were heard loud and clear after the public protector, Advocate Thuli Madonsela, had recommended the appointment of the commission, but there was a long delay in the appointment of the commission. And he was one of those who called for the appointment of the commission and put pressure on the then president of the country to appoint the commission. And when I had been appointed to lead the commission, and I made a call to all South Africans, in particular ministers, deputy ministers, DGs and deputy DGs, and all public servants who knew something about corruption that had been taking place and state capture, to come forward and share with the commission what they knew. Pravin Gordhan was the first sitting cabinet minister to come forward and testify before the commission and share with the commission what he knew. And indeed, the evidence that he shared with the commission was to help throw light on state capture and provide the commission with a certain perspective of state capture and what had been happening within the public service in regard to state capture. Pravin Gordhan is credited, and correctly so, with having, together with his team at SARS, built a world-class SARS for which we were respected. But when he had to leave SARS, he was one of the candidates for the position of Transnet CEO and was recommended to be appointed. But he was not appointed because he withdrew, because he was to be appointed as Minister of Finance. At that stage, we wouldn't have known that his appointment as Minister of Finance might well have been aimed to make sure that whoever was appointed as CEO of Transnet was going to be somebody who would embrace state capture and cooperate with those who pursued state capture. It was only the evidence that we were to hear later in the commission through Barbara Hogan and other witnesses that revealed that the position to which Pravin Gordhan had been recommended stayed unfilled for 2 years because the appointing authority wanted a particular person and was not prepared to appoint a very credible candidate who enjoyed the support of the board and the minister at the time. Of course, the first term of Pravin Gordhan's as Minister of Finance went reasonably well. However, when his successor, Mr. Nhlanhla Nene, went into office, it didn't take long before certain challenges arose, which showed that there was an attempt by those who were pursuing state capture to capture our national treasury. And of course, we will always remember the weekend of the 9th December 2015, because that weekend marked a turning point in the fight against state capture. And indeed, Pravin Gordhan was approached to agree to come back to the Ministry of Finance when enough pressure had been put on the appointing authority to ensure that the minister who had been appointed after Mr. Nhlanhla Nene did not continue as Minister of Finance. Pravin Gordhan obliged. The president gave evidence in the commission that he had to phone Pravin Gordhan ahead of him being approached to say, please, when you are approached to come back as Minister of Finance, do not decline. A lot of speakers have spoken quite correctly today about Pravin Gordhan's humility. And part of what revealed his humility in the commission was that when he was called by the head of state to talk about him going back to the Ministry of Finance, he actually said, but Mr. President, there are other people more qualified than me. And he mentioned those that he put forward. But the president at the time then said he wanted him, and he agreed. In that way, helped us all. Indeed, knowing exactly what was happening, Pravin Gordhan did not just accept the reappointment, but he told the president that he had 3 issues that were of concern to him that needed to be discussed and resolved. And all those 3 issues had to do with state capture. It was SAA and the chairperson of SAA at the time. It was SARS and the commissioner of SARS at the time. It was the nuclear deal. But those discussions were never held. Early in 2016, Pravin found that the Hawks had 27 questions that they wanted him to respond to, which they served on him a few days before he was to deliver the budget speech. And in due course, he answered all of those questions. But he testified before the commission that the entire year of 2016 was a year in which he was persecuted and harassed. And all of us who were following what was happening in the country know that that was so. But throughout that period, he persevered, he bore all this pain with dignity and grace. He did not resign because he understood at that time that if he resigned, he would facilitate the appointment of another minister that would not resist state capture. So for the whole year, he continued with a lot of public attack on him. And in October, he was served with criminal charges, which were withdrawn a few weeks later. But there is no doubt that throughout that time, his term of office, he was harassed. And he was harassed for doing nothing other than doing his job and doing it the way it should be done and observing his oath of office. All of this, he told the commission, and the commission found so, that it was done so as to push him out of the Ministry of Finance so that he could resign on his own. But he resisted. And we all will remember how unceremoniously he was called back on an investment roadshow overseas together with Mr. Fuzile, the DG of Treasury at the time. Mr. Jonas was still due to join them, but he had not left. They were all called back very unceremoniously. And you would think that on his return, maybe he would resign, but he did not. Indeed, he told the commission that one of the leaders of the ANC told him when he came back that the then president wanted to fire him, but would prefer him if he resigned. And there was a suggestion that maybe in the circumstances, it might not be a bad idea to resign with dignity. And Pravin Gordhan said, no, I will not resign. Let them fire me. And indeed, he did not resign. But we know that he was then fired at the end of March. And the commission had to look at why he was fired. And to establish why he was fired, the commission had to go back to Friday the 23rd of October 2015 at Saxonwald, where Mr. Jonas met with one of the Gupta brothers and two others, and was made the offer that he was made. Because it was at that meeting that he was told that Mr. Nhlanhla would be dismissed because he was not cooperating with the Guptas. And indeed, the person who was appointed to succeed Mr. Nhlanhla was appointed in order to facilitate state capture. And the one that the appointing authority wanted to appoint after Mr. Gordhan was, by his own admission, a friend of the Guptas. But the top ANC rejected that name. But the one who was appointed after was also a friend of the Guptas. The courage that Pravin Gordhan had to fight against corruption and state capture and against wrongdoing was amazing. Pravin Gordhan was a true public servant. He was a warrior against corruption and state capture. He has fallen. His spear has fallen. We have to pick it up and continue. it is just my wish that we should not end with singing his praises today in the way in which we are, which are well deserved, but that at a practical level, when we wake up tomorrow, we should go about our business not as business as usual. There should be something that we decide upon to help fight corruption and state capture that we will know when Pravin Gordhan passed on. This is one of the things we decided we would do as a country to make sure that we deal with corruption and state capture effectively. Thank you very much.